All right, so I know in some classes we didn't get to finish up the information that I had researched about the COVID-19 vaccine. So I wanted to kind of just have a presentation for the last little bit of this. If your class is already, if we already got through this in your hour, no worries. But if you want to watch it again as a review, that's totally fine. Okay. So short-term side effects. So all of these will go away after a few days. So you can see all of these are pretty, they're all side effects of like the flu or COVID or a cold. But these all go away after a few days. And remember, anytime we have side effects or symptoms, that's our body, our immune system responding to whatever the thing is, whether it's a vaccine or whether it's an actual virus. Okay. There's been some rare cases of allergic reactions that they have reported. Usually, the people who have allergic reactions, they have a history of reactions to vaccines or specific ingredients that are in the vaccines. So that's what they're kind of seeing with the COVID vaccine as well. There is some data Moderna had released in January of this year, 0.03% adverse events. So 10 out of about 4 million doses. Anaphylaxis just means there was a reaction. And then Pfizer reported 29 cases and none of them were fatal. At this point, there's no current data to back up the claim that COVID vaccines have caused death. So that's a claim that's been made on some reports recently. But at this point, there's no data to really back that up. And remember, anytime there's a claim, we need to have solid evidence to support that. And then at this point, there's just no data. There's been a few cases of people who have died after getting the vaccine, but at this point, there's no, we don't know if that's a specific cause from the vaccine or if that was just a correlation. So basically, they're still doing investigations to figure out what was a specific cause of death for those few people who have died post getting the vaccine, if it was something specific to the vaccine or if there was something else, going on with that person that caused that. So at this point, we can say the claim is not supported that COVID-19 vaccines cause death, but that data is still being collected. Yeah, we talked about this already. Symptoms mean the vaccine's working, your immune response is responding to it, just like when you're sick, which we already talked about. The long-term side effects, so I know this was a big question a lot of you were asking on your survey. At this point, because it's so new, we don't really have data yet at this point. So at this point, there's been no long-term side effects, but remember, this is really new. It's only been about 9 months of data since the first people got the vaccine. So we just don't have a ton of info at this point. So the scientific process to figure this out and to collect data is still ongoing. Okay. So at this point, this is still something that's a question mark, long-term effects. It hasn't been out very long, as we all know, so this is still something that they are collecting data on, and will report as they get that data in. Okay, let's see. There is a claim that there's been claims made that the vaccine can cause infertility or harm to fetus in the womb or babies breastfeeding. At this point, just like with the death claim, there's no evidence to support this claim. Because if you remember, pregnant people, breastfeeding people, they were not included in the original clinical trials. So basically, there's just no data to support that it's going to cause infertility or harm to pregnant people. Okay. And based on what the scientists have seen so far with the vaccine and just what they know about the type of vaccine it is, theoretically, they're saying it should be safe for pregnant and breastfeeding people. But again, they just don't have all the data yet because it is still new. We talked about that. Okay, and then there's some other concerns like what if you already had COVID? Are you good or do you need to get the vaccine still? So what is being recommended at this time is to still get the vaccine even if you've already had COVID-19. And they say to wait 90 days after diagnosis in order to get it. At this point, we just don't have enough data on how long immunity will last if you've had COVID-19, if it's something that you're immune forever, or if it's only, a year or a few months. There's just not enough data because COVID hasn't been around for that long. It's only been, a little over a year. So again, remember, this is the scientific process. They're still continuing to collect data through all of this. So there's still a lot of question marks on some of these things, but those are being continued to be researched and data collected on so they can get evidence to make their solid claims with everything. Okay. So far, they have had some evidence that it doesn't last very long. But again, there's not enough evidence to really give us a solid claim to make one way or another here. So that brings us into how long will the vaccine protect us? Well, same thing with kind of the long-term effects of the vaccine. We just don't know because it's way too early. It's been around for a short amount of time. The longest people have had it have been the ones who got it in that phase 3 of the clinical trials. So at this point, it's too early to tell how long it will protect you. And at this point, they know that the immunity for people who have gotten it has lasted as long as they've had it, had the vaccine. So that's all we know right now. And obviously, time will just give us a better indicator on this. Okay, so then there's a question of the new variants. Will a vaccine protect against those? So at this point, all the data and evidence they have says yes, but again, those new variants are new. Like they're only in the last few months or so. So again, just like these other things, this is still something that they can't claim with 100% confidence. So they're still going to monitor it, collect data, and basically update any recommendations that are necessary once they find out new information. So remember that scientific process piece, it's not a linear process, right? Sometimes they'll get new data and then they have to go back and kind of revise some things. So remember that that's kind of, with this, it's so new and the vaccine's so new that they're still collecting all the data and science on it. Okay? And then for your guys' virtual days, these next 2 days, you are going to be working on a draft of your pros and cons list. So it won't be the final version. I just want you guys to kind of get started on it, think about it on your own, bring in other resources, evidence, and data that you find so that we can, hopefully when we're back together on Friday, we can kind of start doing this in a more of a group setting and as a class.